Our focus for today's lesson is calculating volume. This is going to be a quick lesson because this is review for us. We'll move on to a little bit more complicated concepts tomorrow. So before we can talk about calculating the volume of three-dimensional shapes, we're going to do a really quick review of two-dimensional shapes. The amount of space that a two-dimensional figure takes up is called area. Area is calculated by multiplying length times width. Those are the only two dimensions that a flat shape has. Whereas when we get to three-dimensional shapes, we are looking at volume. The amount of space that a three-dimensional figure takes up is called volume. Volume is calculated by multiplying length times width times height. So we're adding in that third dimension of height when we're talking about calculating volume. Your lesson today, your independent work rather, is to complete 6 problems, and I did the first for you, and this should look very familiar to you. We did this previously in the year. So I know that the formula for volume is length times width times height. So for the first rectangular prism, I'm just going to drag the same measurements to the top. The length was 8 millimeters, the width was 2 millimeters, and the height was 3 millimeters. And the equation would be 8 times 2 times 3, length times width times height would give me 48 millimeters cubed. And that cubed represents the 3 dimensions of a three-dimensional shape. So you're going to finish the next problem, do those 4, and then you are going to do your decimal of the day spiral review. And I went ahead and did it for you, even though, again, this should be familiar for you. For the rest of the week, you will be completing it independently. I just want to make sure that we all remembered how to do it. That number is 6400. So in word form, I'm going to type out 6400s. For expanded notation, you do not have to do all 3 forms. You do whichever one works best for you, whichever one's easiest for you to remember. So you could do 60 hundredths plus 4 hundredths, or 6 tenths plus 4 hundredths, or 6 times 1/10 plus 6 times 1. Oh, that should be 4 times 1 over 100, or 6 times 0.1 plus 4 times 0.01. Same thing. Drag your base 10 blocks to represent the decimal. So I have 6 tenths because there was a 6 in the tenths place, and 4 hundredth cubes because there was a 4 in the hundredths place. And then you're going to drag over a Q obtuse to identify the angles. And then you have a word problem. Quinn has a hedgehog that weighs 1.18 kilograms, and Jacob has a hedgehog that weighs 2 times as much as Quinn's hedgehog. What is the weight of Jacob's hedgehog? So I know that that equation would be 1.18 times 2 because it said 2 times as much as Quinn's hedgehog, and that would give me a product of 2 and 36 kilograms. So that should be pretty quick and easy for you. It does get a little bit harder as we keep going on, but all of this should be familiar with you, for you. If you have any problems, send Miss Williams a message.